toward the one, the perfection of love, harmony, and beauty, the only being, united with all the illuminated souls who form the embodiment of the Master, the message, the mystery, the miracle, the Mother, the Spirit of guidance. Everything lost is found again, in a new form, in a new way. Everything hurt is healed again, in a new time, in a new day. Change is, touch is, touch is, change is. Change us, touch us, touch us, change us. We all are here, we all are here. All manner of good things will come to us now. I'm really excited about episode 12 of StarCircle. I'm going to be sharing a guided meditation called The Structure of the Universe. And before I do, I need to introduce Dr. Greer. I just love his meditation teaching style. I was introduced to him through the Thrive movement, and so that was like 10 years ago. I've been watching every video I could find from Dr. Greer. Many are wonderful guided meditations. He has 4 or 5 movies and 5 books. And I'm going to be sharing a little piece from his book called Hidden Mysteries, or Unexplained Hidden Mysteries, or something like that. And I'll put the correct title in the written description of this episode. And I'm also, my introduction, where I'm telling you about his work, most of it is from his movie called Unacknowledged in 2017. I do intend to do many more episodes on this subject. I'm planning on an episode about the Thrive movement, and then their current movie that just came out this year called Thrive On. We have what it takes to thrive. And then I'm also going to do a couple more episodes about Dr. Greer's work, his new movie about Contact Has Begun. His whole CE5 movement is really, really the most exciting thing happening. And he also has some special features. Daniel Sheehan, a constitutional lawyer. I'm going to do an episode just on him. And then Dr. Russell Targ. I'm going to do an episode on his movie called The Third Eye Spies. So what all of these future episodes have in common with this one is that I am going to be talking about the 0 point energy. So let me proceed with a little bit more of who Dr. Greer is. He was a emergency trauma doctor, an emergency room doctor, head of his department in South Carolina. And he was asked to brief the Clinton administration about a big secret that everybody's been being lied to. And subsequently, he had the most historic event at the press club. It was called the Disclosure Project, and that happened in May 9th of 2001. So we are, all his fans are celebrating this 20-year anniversary with the courage to step up to our convictions and share with you the truth. So Dr. Greer has always spoken the truth, and that's what I really love about him. And the three truths, like Bernie, that he has never veered from. One is that UFOs have been visiting this planet decades, if not centuries, and always. The second point of his disclosure project is that the corporate entities have been able to substantially reproduce UFO technology since the 1950s. And the third point is that ETs are not hostile. So I'd like to just add a little something here, a personal note. When I was studying to be a minister of the Universal Worship Service, a question came up, well, what about the bad stuff in the religions? And basically the answer from a Sufi perspective is that we are honoring and celebrating the truth, what is good in all religions. So we don't really pay much attention to what sins, perceived faults the religion might have. That's not what this is about. So I am satisfied with that answer when I look at the could he be wrong? Could ETs be evil? And I'll let you decide after you hear my entire presentation. I'm going to go into his 3 points in great detail. And then I also will be recording the meditation as a separate podcast all by itself. So when your mind is blown and you want to do this meditation over and over, you'll be able to do that without hearing my introductory rant. But basically, Dr. Greer answers the question is that there is no evidence, absolutely no evidence whatsoever that ETs are hostile. But there is great, unbelievable, mind-blowing evidence, which I'm going to explain, that they are concerned about our hostility. So let's get back to this historic disclosure project press club event. Okay. There was hundreds of military personnel who have come forward willing to talk about the extraterrestrial intelligent life cover-up. And so that's what this press club event was about. And one of the things that they helped us understand is that there's something called unacknowledged special access projects, USAPs for short. And this is where the trillions of unaccounted for dollars that the Pentagon goes through every year. And these USAPs are sitting on technologies that will change the world forever, liberating us from fossil fuels, environmental degradation, and poverty. In 1947 was the historic Roswell crash. And it's really hard to know what to believe because there's so many, spins, and we're going to get into that. But basically, Dr. Greer has hundreds of thousands of pieces of evidence that the incident at Roswell has happened 100 times during that time period. We're talking 1947, and that the crashes are actually the military-industrial complex shooting down the extraterrestrial life. And they have recovered that's how they've been able to make these alien reproduction vehicles, APVs, that they've had since the 1950s. Okay. And they also recovered bodies, and they have made little robot creatures to simulate what these bodies looked like. There was actually even, believe it or not, I'm sure it's true. Again, that's what these hundreds of military people have testified, first-hand testimony, and hundreds of thousands of written documents that there was an extraterrestrial recovered alive at Roswell in 1947, and it lived in some sort of underground cage for 5 years. So again, the evidence indicates that extraterrestrial and life form are very concerned about our hostility. And why would that be? Okay, all of this military testimony of seeing ET beings and crafts and their actions happened after the first atomic bomb was detonated. And it turns out that in 1947, Roswell was the only installation on planet Earth of nuclear weapons. So I'm going to jump around a little bit. They have said that it's actually an embarrassment of riches, that there is so much evidence for what I am telling you. And so you wonder, well, what about someone like Carl Sagan? He used to, in his early work, he believed in ET. And then later, he was one of them that said there was no evidence. And Dr. Greer believes that, and I'm sure it's true, that Carl Sagan was threatened and blackmailed into this secrecy conspiracy about the ET agenda. And I'm going to get more into why that's happening. One of the things that the military people testify to is that there have been all these sightings, hundreds of thousands of sightings of extraterrestrial craft and beings at military installations that happen to all be nuclear facilities. And these hundreds of military professionals give firsthand testimony that the ETs are here disabling the warheads and the missiles. Now, I'd like to make a quote from this man named Gordon Crichton. He's a retired British foreign officer. And he said, if you accept the multidimensional theory, it's highly likely that we have done a hell of a lot of damage in someone else's world, maybe even more than we've done here. So back to Dr. Greer. In 1990, he formed the Center for the Study of Extraterrestrial Intelligence. And he was primarily interested in forming a diplomatic corps to make contact with these civilizations. And his whole rap is, don't militarize this relationship. We have got to make this a diplomatic effort. Citizens diplomacy is what is called for here. So by 1992, the intelligence communities knew that Dr. Greer and his contact protocols were having spectacular results, and that his intention was to make contact for peaceful purposes, to advance our civilization and to an interplanetary civilization. Dr. Greer's message has always been about reaching out to space. It's contrary to the false narrative ramping up every day that ET and UFOs are hostile. This false narrative is setting us up for interplanetary war. And this is to feed the war machine. Dr. Greer was devastated when he was asked to brief the CIA and Clinton administration because they were being lied to. It was right after Roswell that this National Reconnaissance Office started, and this NSA, no such agency. So the secret that holds such bountiful option of free energy, suppressing that is the work of the national security state. It is the most classified subject in the U.S. government. And again, weeks after Roswell, the CIA was formed. By 1961, President Eisenhower had lost control, and he warns against the military-industrial complex. Now, what happened was that the Air Force we know now was formed. Prior, it had been part of the Army, so they had this another military force, and that's when, in 1961, that's when the USAPs began and went black. And then we see this shadowy government, a government that is functioning separate from the real government. And this black budget of the shadowy government. At least 25% of military spending is going to these USAPs and black ops and black budget and supporting this shadowy government. One of the things they're trying to do, maybe because ET, has kind of a lovable image to some of us, they're changing the name now to Unexplained Aerial Phenomena. And so we see we're getting into this industry that makes weapons, makes money off of building weapons and using weapons. It has become a war machine that is this shadowy government. And it's a deep secret from any constitutional agency. Anyone who has the power to do anything about it is lied to. The president and the Congress, they don't have a need to know. So how do they keep something so big secret? They hide it in plain sight. They have a billion-dollar campaign to discredit anyone who and destroy their credibility. Anybody who supports this closure. They have infiltrated the media so that the media tells us what the shadowy government wants us to hear. The CIA has infiltrated all academic circles also. So the people are being taught the false narrative that ET doesn't exist, and if it does, it's a hostile threat that we need to prepare for. The NSA dismisses and ridicules any authentic sightings and contact. Now, I'm still talking about the 1960s. There was many Germans brought to the United States to join the Space Force after the World War II. And Dr. Alan Hynek is one of them. And he actually appears in Close Encounters of the Third Kind. And he is the one who leaked the information to create E.T. and the Contact of the Third Kind movies. The rest of the movies are all a psychological warfare and a spin, okay? Any favorable mention of flying saucers by a scientist amounts to extreme heresy and places the one making the statement in danger of excommunication by the scientific theocracy. That was a quote by Frank Salisbury, PhD. So why? Okay, because we have lost a century. We have 100 years of evolution we have lost. In 1920, Tesla's work was destroyed, discredited, completely taken in by these USAPs, and the free energy, endless abundance, no need for roads even. All that was thrown away for 100 years because of the military industrial complex wanting to make money. The macroeconomic order, which the military industrial complex is definitely a part of, this macroeconomic order. This has to do with fossil fuels, petrodollar, industrial elites, and corporations, and all of that would be completely transformed if we accepted the gift of free energy that ET is offering. If the power was delineated to the average person, we would not need them anymore. So that's a big reason why the secret. We have a century of artificial scarcity that has produced a dehumanized, war-torn world. And I mean, it gets worse, okay? It gets worse. Let me go on to explain about exposing the alien threat hoax.